Let's talk about this global protest that's happening in over a week, actually.
Yeah.
February 14th, also known as Valentine's Day for the most of us and some of us. And, here's a quick reminder. If you have a significant other and you need to get them something, you have an 8-day advance already. And we'll probably remind you again next week. But yes, there's a global protest going on.
There is. So these are some of the flyers. Promoting, first of all, Torsten, thank you. I have a Behind the Wheel with Torsten that talks about this issue. We timed it in a way that's about a week before the protest. This is probably as widespread as a protest that I've seen, including Canada now, okay? Look, drivers are fed up, okay? Now, my personal opinion, this is only my personal opinion. I support all of these protests, okay? I question the effectiveness of these protests. One, because of just sheer math and sheer numbers. But I am in support of doing all we can to be in front in the news media, wake people up, which is happening more and more. And in fact, I talked to Torsten, and he's going to be my interview with him is going to be on our channel Thursday morning at 8 a.m. There are 2 protests happening in LA where I live. One is going to be in front of the Uber hub in Mid-Wilshire, in Mid-City. That's put together by RDU, Rideshare Drivers United. And the second one is going to be, which is the pamphlet or brochure you guys see on the right side. This is like pretty much, I think, in about 20 different states, Chris. And this is getting some play, obviously. Are we going to turn the apps off and cause Uber harm? No. They have so many drivers that I don't think anybody is going to care. But it is good to keep the momentum of the news in front of the media. And I have good relationships with media. And I am going to do everything I can to put this in the media, to get this written, just like Lyft had their article written in some, couple of PR pieces, right? So PR is never wrong. Being in the media is never wrong. In fact, I have 2 interviews with a couple of major magazines and newspapers tomorrow. And I'm going to make sure this is in there, right? We're going to keep this in front of the media. I support everybody's right to protest. I support whatever they do. Mathematically, I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to try to be actually at both events, okay? Supporting the driver community. Is it going to be effective? Probably not. But the effective part of this is being in front of the news, being in front of the media, keep it in the news, right? And so, yeah, that's everybody keeps asking me, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? And I'm like, yeah, this is my announcement. So hopefully that's sufficient to all the people who asked this.
All right. So for me personally, again, I agree with you on the fact that it probably will not have certain effect. I think there's a few other things that could be done. And, anybody who wants to do this, please take it up and do it. And then send us screenshots of it because we'd like to see. These are a couple ideas that I have that I've talked about, a number of times when we were talking about protests. First off, don't turn your app off. If you don't want to drive, don't drive. Turn it on. Let the ride requests come. Let them time out. That means that the rider has to wait longer because the amount of people who are going to put their apps on and not drive and just let it ring through and let it go through, that could potentially have a little bit of backup because you're flooding it with people who do not want to drive but are going to participate in some sort of stance. So I think something like that could have a potentially bigger impact, just because it could put more time between somebody who's trying to get a ride versus not get a ride, and it could jam up the systems a little bit. So, if you don't want to turn your apps on, if you don't want to drive and you want to stand in solidarity, great. But try turning your apps on. Just don't accept a ride. Let it go through. Turn your phone on mute or something like that, so you don't have to hear your phone all the time with the pings and the requests and all that coming through. But just let it go where there could be a potential thing there. Now, if you
Actually,
are going to go to,
we talked about this with the professor, your suggestion. I mean, I think it'll work better than turning the app off, because
Yeah.
then you're messing up the whole algorithm, right? And passengers are going to keep waiting. I mean, they're going to, nobody's accepting chips. Potentially, Uber may turn your app off, so pay attention to that, because they're known to do that after 5-6 pings. You don't take,
Which
you let it.
is against their TOS, and we've talked about that already.
Yeah,
But
they don't, they only like their TOS when it works for them. So like,
that's the first thing. So first thing, turn your apps on. Just don't accept a ride. Don't have to. Because again, if you have, let's say if you have 100 drivers in an area, and let's say 20 of them are normally on at any time, and let's say 10 drivers are going to participate in the strike or protest and not turn their apps on. The other 80 still could potentially be on, which means that the rides are still going to go through and all that. But if you want to turn your app on, now your request is going from phone to phone to phone, which maybe now it could go through 3, 4, 5 people's phones, depending on the concentration of the amount of drivers there. Second thing, if you are participating in the protest, sorry, I keep going and want to say strike, but protest. If you are going to participate and you want to stand with fellow drivers or get fellow drivers on board, the other thing besides going to some of these areas, because I don't know how busy the Uber area is for the Uber hub location, but you want to go somewhere where people are going to see it, go on Wilshire Boulevard, go on some of these boulevards or these streets that are going to have a lot of people, put up some signs, put a couple of people in front and actually put up the signs saying like something with Uber, where people are actually going to see it more. Like if you go to the airport, the only people that are going to see it are the people who are traveling through the airport. Not a lot of people. If you want to get more people, you go on the main streets of the main intersections during those busy times, whether it's during rush hour, whether it's during morning, afternoon, whether it's when people are out on the most of the roads. Put those signs up and go a couple of blocks at a time. You see that all the time. Do stuff like that where people are going to be more apt. The other thing, if you are going to drive and you're going to take advantage of that on February 14th or whatnot, talk to your passengers, tell them what's going on, because you can still take part in stand solidarity between everybody. But the other side of the coin too is everybody should talk to their passengers, because we've talked about this last week. Try to get passengers on board with drivers instead of being against each other and at odds. Bring them together, share what's going on. You'll be able to feel them out. You'll be able to have a conversation with them. And most passengers will be somewhat understanding. Some of them will just be like, go pound salt. But you will definitely reach a few that will, want to know more information. And, they'll probably be fed up with it. And one of the ways that you could do it is just on the approach. Remember, they're paying more for the ride. They're not happy about that. So you can always use that type of approach to kind of, mend that fence and get on the same page there. There's plenty of different ways to do that. There's plenty of different tactics. But the reality is we should be talking to our passengers as well, educating them what's going on, because then that's going to bring everybody onto one side. So again, those are the 3 points that I have. The first point, instead of turning your app off, if you wanted to partake in the strike, turn it on. Just don't accept anything. Let the ride request run through. Hopefully that will bug up the system a little bit. Second, if you want to stand with solidarity with people, besides some of these locations that they're talking about, like the main ones, branch off, grab a couple of the drivers and say, hey, let's go to a very busy intersection. Let's stand there. Let's grab some signs so people know what's going on. And then thirdly, talk to your passengers, let them know what's going on, and approach them from the angle that it's going to help them as well too, because they're going to be more receptive of that. Those types
yeah,
of things I think can have a larger impact. And right around this time, there's a lot of love in the air, being Valentine's Day and all that. So I think there's going to be a little bit more receptiveness when it comes to this going on. So
yeah. So a
those are
couple
my
things.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, a couple
And what
things.
you guys
This
want to do is up to you.
when was the last time you mentioned this? It was by maybe 4 weeks ago that you came up with this
Or
idea of keeping the apps on. We actually did it on a live stream. You said the same thing.
I think it was probably when it was first announced,
Yeah, like 4 or 5 weeks
for
ago.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably around a
So
month or so
whoever
ago.
whoever Indigo is, I don't know who Jeff is, but actually Chris and I talked to the professor a lot, and I guess professor and that guy is tight. So after we mentioned that, he went there. So your timeline is wrong. So you're on the wrong channel probably. The other one is this right here. Hits the nail in the head. Okay. Most markets are so oversaturated with these desperate drivers who need every dime to buy groceries, pay their rent. I get it. And that's why I'm supportive of the protest, but I don't think mathematically or conceptually, I don't think it's going to result in hurting Uber or Lyft that day anyway. So to me, I'm going to do everything I can to put it in front of the eyeballs of the world. And actually, Torsten's RideShare professors, the one that he's doing at LAX on Century, it's at LAX. So if you guys want to show up, please show up, show your support. And yeah, so that's the protest. And that's where we are with that. So yeah, let's keep it going.
All right. So yes, and then again, the Behind the Wheel series with Torsten and Sergio will be.
I like to know
Again
how
on
that's
Thursday.
possible. You tell me mathematically, Ron, how that's possible. 4 million drivers, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000 protesting, either leaving the apps on or turning the apps off, right? I don't know what city you drive in, but in LA, there's 120, just in LA County, there's 120,000 drivers. And to reach them all, I wish was a possibility. Then we can really do it. But it is a divided group as it is. And what Mike said is true. There are a lot of desperados out there. When I drive, when they put a $3 trip radar trip, Chris, and it gets snapped like this, well, somebody took that trip. So you know where we are when it comes to that issue. But
And again, going with the oversaturation, that's part of the reason why turning your app off will not have an effect overall. Turning your app on, letting it run through could potentially, because now you could be bogging the system. And again, if you're in particular areas where it's busy, you could even, like I say, you could go in these places where it's going to be busy, people are looking for rides, and then that ride request will likely come through you and a couple other drivers that you're with, which means now their wait time is going to increase because it has to pair to that driver. So those types of things, you can definitely plan and position yourselves to be able to do something like that, where it could start, breaking the system a little bit. And that could have more of an impact with less drivers who are partaking in it, but more drivers on the road as oversaturation. So those are a few things that you could try doing when it comes down to it. But just getting the words out there, talking to people, and especially, like I say, going to these particular areas, these protest areas, breaking off, and then getting your signs and stuff. That's going to help other drivers be able to know, because unfortunately, there's 6.5 million drivers on just the Uber platform worldwide right now. And tomorrow we're going to find out, probably there's going to be more than that when they have their earnings call. So we'll probably be talking about how much many drivers there are now after that quarter earnings call comes out tomorrow morning. But the reality is, there's many drivers out there. So to be able to reach all of them, or a fraction of them, is a huge feat. So one of the things, like I say, you stand on that busy intersection holding those signs, drivers are driving by. You get an area where 60,000 cars are going down by in rush hour, 25,000 cars are going by rush hour. How many of those are going to be Uber and Lyft drivers? How many of those are going to be food delivery drivers? Probably quite a few. They're going to see that, and then they're going to be like, hey, what's all this about? And then they might actually try looking into these things as well too. So that's how you can reach more people as well.
Yeah, Brooke, I have
Many different ways.
actually I do that every time I'm driving now. Try to educate the rider more than the drivers, because it's impossible to reach all 6 million drivers, but each one of us take 20, 25 passengers every day. And even if half of them are willing to listen, I actually put up a video. It's on the channel. It's a live recording after I got his approval of me and a passenger. Hi, approach these passengers. Hi, talk to them. Look, if somebody walks into your car, with the idea that they're on their Facebook or whatever social media, they're not going to talk to you. But you all you have to do is feel the room out, right? And then if they're receptive to your hello and whatever, willing to talk to you, you just explain to them what's going on. In fact, on the Lyft app, your fare is on the Lyft app all the way from pickup all the way to the end, right? And Uber doesn't show that, but Lyft does.
That's what I
And
like to
they know
see.
what they paid. There you go. Exactly. That's how it works. And you got to educate the rider, and that's got to be the pivot this year. We have to educate the rider. We're in the car with them 20, 30 times a day. and one at a time. Because look, the other thing that is true is that the rider is also now getting stretched, right? And the service quality has gone down, car quality has gone down, driver quality has gone down. Cars are showing up with broken windshields and bumpers on the floor, right? And to me, and the passenger is paying 50% more than what they were paying in 2018. So they expect some level of, service, and they're not getting it, and they're getting pissed off now because you're not doing $10 for 10 miles anymore. The subsidized fantasy land on the rider side is over. So yeah, I mean, these are all good suggestions, but feel the room first, because then they may not be in a good mood to talk to you about anything, and then they'll ding you with a 1-star. You don't want that. Just like anything else, feel the room, and then if they're open to talking to you about that subject, do it. Ask them what they paid, and then show on the Lyft app what you're receiving for that exact specific trip, because Lyft app shows you all the way to your destination what you're getting paid, unlike Uber. So but this goes for both apps. We need to start educating the riders because they are getting pissed off. They're paying more and they're receiving less. So just like the drivers are.
I think, you know what, Sergio, I think what we'll have to do, we'll have to put together a few different ways to approach passengers and people when it comes to how to approach them. So it's going to be on a level playing field, so you're not just like trying to attack them or anything like
Oh,
that. You
no,
come
no.
at them in a good way, and I think a lot of people might not know how to do that. So what we'll do is maybe we'll put up a couple of feeler questions
Yeah,
and ways where you can like do the probing to see how receptive they are. And then
yeah.
that way you can start cultivating the conversation on what way it might go. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. And it just is a matter of the potential person that's in your car. If they're even, really receptive. A lot of the times they might just get in, they're on their phone or they're
Yeah.
playing some music on their phone or whatever. They don't want to talk, you know, it is what it is. But you might get some people that are receptive, and then that person that you weren't able to talk to, maybe the next driver that has them, they're maybe more apt to talk to. So yeah, it's just a matter
You
of
just
getting that.
gotta plant the seed, right? Plant the seed in their head, because when they keep hearing that from driver after driver, because they're heavy time users. I mean, tomorrow when Uber announces it, they're expected to grow
Not
the
literally probing, figuratively.
figuratively, yeah. They're going to announce probably 150 million monthly active users on their platform, Chris,
Easy,
tomorrow.
thank you.
You know,
And Nathaniel,
and
thanks.
to me, it's like 150 million passengers, a lot of passengers, and we all get 20, 10, 15, 30 of them sometimes a day. If you can educate half, you do the same again the next day, you do the same again. That's how you multiply. Because as big as we are, we're not reaching not even 1% of the drivers in the US. There's 4 million Uber and Lyft drivers in the US. We're reaching the half percent of that, maybe. So I think that's a valid thing to do, because the passenger is not happy, as unhappy as the drivers are. So are the passengers. They're paying a lot more for the same trip than 3-4 years ago, and they're not happy about it. And in fact, I bet half of these 150 million people on the Uber platform have a heart and will listen to you. And once that
Well,
happens, that's when we can hurt these companies, because they're the ones,
not only
golden goose
that,
that lays the golden egg.
not only that, the car quality has gone from like right up here and it's slowly going down. So the other thing too is if you keep your car nice, clean, and all that, one of the best ways to judge them on that is they get in the car and they say, "Wow, this is a nice car," or "Is this new?" or something like that, where they're actually complimenting your car because
Yeah,
the last few probably have not been that great.
yeah,
You probably already got a one up there with them.
yeah,
So yeah, you can start asking them a couple of
yeah,
different questions. But yeah, we'll put something together where you can take a couple of different questions and kind of get those feeling questions to see
yeah,
where they're at, even if they're interested or whatnot. And then that way, it's basically the icebreakers that help you get that conversation flowing. And once that things start flowing, then you take it where you need to. So those are a few different things, and I think we'll get that started because yeah, getting people on board is going to be the best way when it comes down to helping to make some changes.
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you get notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.